All right, my friends. I just pressed the Let's Go Live button over here on our end. And so, you know what that means. We got to wait for the tubes to fire up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs before we go ahead and get started. It is a Memorial Holiday stream, and so sometimes the tubes take the day off. We don't want that to happen, lest we be rambling into oblivion. It looks like we're connected on YouTube. Looks like we're coming across on Telegram. Rumble's fired up. Locals is coming across. That's tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about the lawfare cases and how they are a-crumbling. In fact, we've got Jack Smith, who's a little bit freaked out. This is a fun one that came across, and we're going to get into it because he dropped this on a Friday, Memorial Day weekend, 3 days, and this is a little bit of a shiny object, as we say. He's dangling this around so everybody looks over here and says, oh no, what's happening? Like a magician, because what he doesn't want you to see is how badly his case is crumbling. And so we're going to go through this. This is some good stuff. This is the filing that came out from Jack Smith. He submitted this, and as part of his submission was a list of exhibits. And in those exhibits were some of Trump's mean words. Trump posted a couple truths saying, you know, the FBI and the DOJ authorized the use of deadly, in parentheses, lethal force when they were raiding Trump's residence at Mar-a-Lago. And the government is very unhappy with that characterization. We weren't going to kill you. We weren't going to exploit some potential confusion or opportunity to escalate this thing. All right, so we'll get into that. Trump is, of course, posting stuff about this. The government wants him to shut up. And so Jack Smith is now seeking a gag again. And this is because the rest of his case is floundering. So now he wants to just make this all about a gag, wants to deviate Judge Cannon into a conversation about speech, maybe try to show that she's biased or something like that. Try to appeal that. Anyways, we'll come back to it. Then we'll turn our attention over to Andy McCabe. You remember him. He was a former deputy director from the FBI. Real piece of work, this guy. He was also involved in the Hillary Clinton email cover-up when the FBI was investigating her emails. And he was part of the Trump-Russia collusion hoax after Comey got fired. And he's out doing the FBI splaining, which is what we're going to call this today. You know, you hear that term about mansplaining. It's like, you know, if you just turn the knob that way, it'll all be fixed. And they're like, would you shut up? So it's mansplaining kind of a concept, but FBI splaining. And so Andy McCabe is going to FBI splain to all of us how stupid we are. And it's just a simple form because Trump's just a simple criminal. He committed espionage or whatever. So we'll go into that. We'll see what he says all in the first segment. And we're glad that you're here and joining us. Then in our second segment, this is good stuff, man. We've been waiting to see what is inside of these jury instructions, and we now have some drafts. These are not the final versions of the jury instructions, but these have been submitted by both parties. They're joint submissions from the government and from Trump's defense, and they pertain to all the various elements, the components of this case. And so we're going to go into it. We now know that Judge Merchan, as we suspected previously, is going to do the pick a crime, any crime doesn't matter type of routine, just like magicians at a kid's birthday party. Pick a card, any card, doesn't matter. Whatever the jurors want. Oh, you wear winner today. Well, poof, here you go. Criminal charges, criminal conviction, poof, just like a rabbit out of a hat. So he then is now evidently going to give them the option. They can pick a tax crime. They can pick a federal election crime. They can pick a New York election crime, whatever, doesn't matter. But the problem with that is he's wrong. Judge Merchan is way off on this. We have unanimity in criminal law where you have to agree on the elements of the crime. And of course, there's case law to support this. We're shouting out Greta Van Susteren, who gave us some case law on this, Richardson versus United States. And so I do have a case brief pulled up on this that we will take a look at to clarify that you don't just get to make up whatever you want when you're trying to prosecute somebody and you have criminal elements, the little check boxes that you need to hit in order to do your duty under the law. So we'll go through that. Then we'll dive into the actual jury instructions themselves. You can see various components to this. The big charge of 34 of them, false business records. But there's a bunch of additional things we have to zoom in on because the question is, what is the object offense? What is the predicate offense that elevates this into a felony? We know that it was originally a misdemeanor, but the judge says, well, as long as Trump intended to commit some other crime, that's enough. Of course, it's going to be pick your crime, any crime, but we also need the jurors to pick one. So they've given us some options. The jury instructions exist for the federal election crime. We'll look at it. New York election law. We'll look at that one. The only one we haven't seen come through yet is on the tax law, on the local New York tax code. So we'll see if that comes across, but currently do not have that one. We'll talk about the credibility of witnesses. Of course, the jurors can decide whether Stormy Daniels, the porn star, or Michael Cohen, the perjurer, whether they're credible or not when they're in their deliberations. So there are instructions on that. Then there's also instructions on accomplice liability and accessory liability. So whether Trump was an accessory or an accomplice to someone else, maybe Michael Cohen committed the crime, but Trump was an accomplice or an accessory. So we'll talk about that and see what those instructions say. We also then have some reaction from the White House. There's a story that apparently they are plotting a way to take advantage of this. Okay, whatever happens in this verdict, whether Trump is found to be guilty or whether it's a hung jury or whether he is acquitted, which I think is a long shot, White House prepared to talk about it and exploit it for whatever angle they take. We'll, of course, see that. But it's probably going to be, if he's acquitted, Trump escapes again. America's at a precipice. We've never seen this before. Or if it's a hung jury. But if he's guilty, they'll say, so he's a convicted felon. And finally, Trump is being brought to justice. Inside, Jen Psaki's out on MSNBC. We'll see what she said. She brought on Neil Katyal. They're going to give us some previews of closing arguments. And then Doug Burgum is out. Bergmentum, somewhere in America, someone said. So he is out saying Trump has already been acquitted on this. And I think that's kind of right. I think what we've seen with the Stormy testimony and the Cohen testimony, even the CNN people were like, oh, that was pretty bad. So countries largely, regardless of what happens, if Trump is convicted, I think it's going to feel very, very agitating, and it will increase the energy levels, not decrease. So that's good news. Then we'll wrap it up on the day with Alina Habba in the house, and she has a nice thing to say. She says they have no facts at all because they're just making it up like magicians. And so, as you can see, my friends, we got some good stuff to get to here today. I'm very glad you're joining us. I hope you are enjoying your Memorial Day holiday. Of course, we always want to pause and remember the reason for the holiday and appreciate those who have given the ultimate sacrifice for the rest of us so that we can be here. And so we honor and remember them and thank them and the families and everybody for their services and for your continuing service. And so just wanted to say that, of course, my friends, we've got some other good stuff to get to. You can join us on our members only community. We do members only streams. We got a great community. We do Saturday streams. We did a great stream this past Saturday. It was a ton of fun. And we'd love to have you join us. We also have our website. So if you want to get any of the PDFs that we're about to go through, robertgovea.com is where you'll find those. We have show reports that go up. And so you can check those out there. And then, of course, Watcher Lodge. We had a fun Watcher Lodge this Saturday. A little bit of a shorter one, but the vertical garden came in. So we unboxed that together, and I still have to set that up, but that's on the agenda maybe today because we got some time. So, all right, watcherlodge.com. Come and join us. Sign up over there. We also have our Vegas meetup, which is coming up in June. More details over there. And only RSVP if you're absolutely coming because we want to see you. All right. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it because we got some good business to attend to on this lovely day. Jack Smith is freaking out. He submitted a motion in Judge Cannon's courtroom saying Donald Trump needs to be gagged. And we're thinking to ourselves, wait a minute, what? This case has been going on for quite some time. Everyone else has tried to gag Trump basically immediately. Judge Chutkan gagged him. We had Engoron gag him. We had Merchan gag him. And all of a sudden, Jack's coming out and saying, we need him gagged too. Well, that's because Jack's cases are all failing and he needs a little red herring, a little shiny object to dangle everybody's attention over here to give the media something to talk about, which is what they're doing. We've got Andy McCabe, corrupt ex-FBI agent, who's going to come in and say, Trump is making this into a dangerous situation. What are we talking about? Well, Trump is commenting on the warrant and the procedures on executing the warrant when they went and raided his residence at Mar-a-Lago and took pictures unnecessarily and without legal cause or justification of Melania's bedroom and Barron's bedroom because they were trying to humiliate him or do due diligence for some other entity. Maybe the CIA has plans. Don't know. But they're there. And in that execution of that search warrant, there was a section on the use of force and lethal force in particular. And a bunch of the normal figures on the left and in the mainstream deep state institutional defenders are constantly saying, it's just a form. Nobody changed it. Nobody even looked at it. Okay, morons. This is not a regular case. This is not some crackhead like Hunter Biden that you didn't raid. This is the president who has, in my opinion, absolute legal authority to have those documents, and don't need to get into the legal arguments there about the opinion clause that belongs to the president. But Trump posts a bunch of stuff and now they're freaked out. So he has to be shut up immediately. Merrick Garland is out there. This is dangerous rhetoric. If he continues to be able to speak about how we did our job and executed the search warrant, Trump needs to be silent. So we'll look at the exhibits and then get into the actual motion. And Jack Smith, a little nervous. That's why he's filing this stuff. If he had an actual case that was winning, he wouldn't have to dig into all of this nonsense. So here is the exhibit. So this is what he's whining about. Let's get into what he submitted to Judge Cannon. He says, Your Honor, Trump posted this one. Trump said back on May 21st, wow, I just came out of the Biden witch hunt trial in Manhattan, the icebox, and I was shown reports that crooked Joe Biden's DOJ and their illegal and unconstitutional raid of Mar-a-Lago authorized the FBI to use deadly parentheses lethal force. And now we know for sure that Joe Biden is a serious threat to democracy. He's mentally unfit to hold office. 25th Amendment. Get out of here, Joe. That's part one. Now they submitted another exhibit two. They say, Your Honor, look what Trump has said again. Not only is he saying that they used lethal force to come after me with their illegal and unconstitutional raid, he also submitted this. Trump alert came in, breaking news. Stop the witch hunt. Trump submitted this to an email list, it looks like. Breaking from Trump. Biden's DOJ was authorized to shoot me. True. Yeah, absolutely true. Do you think if the Secret Service said, no, you're not coming in because the president is not allowing you in, this is his property, he has said that we're going to be defending this property because we're not allowing you to come in, do you think it could have escalated? I don't know. Maybe next time someone will stop the FBI from coming onto their residence to take pictures of their wife and kids' bedroom without their authorization. When, in my opinion, the president has the immunity over his actions from when he was in office. So taking those documents, and hasn't been settled by the Supreme Court yet. So the DOJ couldn't say that he did not have that definitively. They could say it's their opinion, but it would have just been their opinion. So maybe what is a better framework for our country is to not have administrations going after outgoing administrations. Because if you do that, you're going to incentivize the outgoing administrations to not cooperate with the prior administrations, right? And to shield themselves up. So now you have this real big problem that, of course, Joe Biden just created. But here's what Trump said. Now, it's just been revealed that Biden's DOJ was authorized to use deadly force for their despicable raid in Mar-a-Lago. You know, they're just itching to do the unthinkable. It's true. Joe Biden was locked and loaded, ready to take me out and put my family in danger. All true. They didn't come and knock on the door and say, can we come in and please have permission to come in and just look around? No, they raided. They had guns. They came in with a surprise. They had tactical operations. They were locked and loaded. And if they would have had any resistance at all, do you think they would have just sat there and taken it? No, of course, they would have returned fire. Now, he thinks he can frighten me, intimidate me, and knock me down. But worst of all, they think their thug tactics will cause proud supporters like you to abandon me. But here's the one thing they don't know. We will never surrender. Never. Biden's corrupt regime needs to get the message right here, right now, that our patriotic movement cannot be stopped. So before this day is over, I'm calling on 1 million Trump patriots to make a donation today. Stand with Trump, with you by my side. We will make America great again. So Donald Trump assigned this letter, stop the witch hunt. Oh man, Jack's going to be so mad about that. We weren't going to shoot you, huh? So here is Exhibit 3. Trump posted this one, May 23rd. I have gotten to know so many amazing United States Secret Service agents. It has been my honor to have them protecting me and my family since our historic 2016 victory against beautiful Hillary Clinton. Shockingly, however, crooked Joe Biden's Department of Injustice authorized the use of deadly force in their illegal, unconstitutional, and un-American raid of Mar-a-Lago. And that would include against our great Secret Service, who they thought might be in the line of fire. As I told Crooked Joe's DOJ, if they needed anything, all they had to do was ask. In fact, they did. They came, they sat down there. Trump invited them in, popped into the office, said hello. FBI agents, meantime, were looking around at all the cameras. Oh, we're going to subpoena that. Oh, we're going to subpoena that. Oh, what's your name? Oh, what's her badge say? Oh, who's this? They were investigating the president, who was extending out of goodwill an invitation, and they exploited that. So why would the next president be so foolish to ever do that again? Now we have a precedent for creating an adversarial relationship for outgoing administrations. Nicely done. They did not have to illegally and unconstitutionally raid my home and rummage through my family's, including Barron's, private quarters. It's sick. End these third world witch hunts and make America great again. Now, all raids make my skin crawl. Anytime anybody's house gets raided from strangers, foreign, strangers, police officers and government officials, as though it makes any difference at all to the violation of what's happening to you. But they did it to the president. They took pictures of Melania's bedroom, of Barron's bedroom, and they're floating around on some FBI server somewhere. These people are sick. So here are some more exhibits. Exhibit 4. Here's what Patriot Takes wrote. Looks like a great follow on X. I'm sure I'm following them. Steve Bannon claims the Mar-a-Lago classified document search was, quote, an attempted assassination by Joe Biden and his associates. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. We don't know. We don't know what they would have liked to have happened. So they're very unhappy about that. So that's Exhibit 4. Great point, Steve Bannon. And the government is so unhappy about those statements. They say, oh, no, this is dangerous. Yes, it's true. We did have a use of force policy. Yes, it's true. We would have shot and returned fire if needed. Yes, it's true. We had multiple armed FBI agents in plain clothes, so we couldn't even tell they were FBI agents, who were raiding a presidential compound in armed vehicles and ranging in there. You don't think that there was a better way to handle that? You don't think that maybe that was a little aggressive and the Secret Service would have been well within their rights to start popping back off? Who are these people raiding the president's compound? Didn't happen this time, fortunately. But what about next time? So here's Merrick Garland. Now, he's upset about the rhetoric. He's upset about Trump's response, about what he posts on Truth and what he sends in his emails. But Garland is not too concerned with his insane policies that got us here, where he broke 234 years of precedent and raided his opponent. Most of us got. Let's boost this volume. That reporter, a little bit quiet. there. We'll hit this button right here.
Solicitation email this morning from the former President of the United States saying that the Justice Department had authorization to kill him during the Mar-a-Lago raid. First, can you give us some clarification on that particular point that he's making and whether or not deadly force is authorized in other interventions, including the search of Mr. Biden's residence and office? And the second question is,
Can I do one at a time? Okay. On that one, that allegation is false, and it is extremely dangerous.
Okay.
The document that is being referred to in the allegation is the Justice Department standard policy limiting the use of force. As the FBI advises, it is part of the standard operations plan for searches, and in fact, it was even used in the consensual search of President Biden's home.
Okay, so nice talking points. You put it in the consensual search for Joe Biden, and I'm sure we're going to see those documents. Did they also go into Hunter Biden's bedroom and raid through his stuff too? Did they go into Ashley Biden's room and raid her stuff too, take pictures? Did they go into Dr. Jill's location, take pictures of her medical exam books or something, whatever, her coloring books there? What's going on? So you used the same force in some abstract conversation, but you didn't go up with unmarked FBI agents, plain clothed, raiding any other residences. Curious. So it's the same. Everybody's making much ado about nothing. It's dangerous. Don't you talk about this. Of course, it certainly feels like they would be very happy if something popped off, if something got instigated as a result of their brazenness. Now, the government submitted this to Judge Cannon, and here is what they wrote. They say, Your Honor, we need to modify Trump's conditions of release. The court has set terms. He's free to go and do certain things, say certain things, but we have to change those because of his bad rhetoric. This was submitted by the government, Jack Smith, and the Oompa Loompa Jay Baratt out of the Southern District of Florida, West Palm Beach Division. Government writes the following. Your Honor, Judge Cannon, the government moves to modify Trump's conditions of release, we're offended, to make clear that Trump may not make statements that pose a significant and imminent and foreseeable danger to law enforcement agents who are participating in the investigation and the prosecution of this case. Gosh, what a bunch of weenies. The government has contacted counsel for Trump. They stated that they object to the motion and they object to the timing of conferral on a holiday weekend, which is exactly when they dropped this on a Friday. The defense attorney is like, what? It's Friday night, weirdos. We're going to the beach, man. We're going to the cabin. Leave us alone. It is their position that the government has not provided an opportunity for a meaningful referral on this gag. The defense does not believe that there is any imminent danger because Trump said a couple things, and they asked it to meet and confer next Monday. However, the government, Jack Smith, he's so nervous and panicky. He says, within the last few hours, Trump has continued to issue false statements. He's smearing and endangering the agents who executed the search. Yeah, those two guys who were taking pictures of Melania's bedroom. Trump retruthed the statement on Truth saying lethal force on Trump or anyone at Mar-a-Lago while the FBI and the DOJ plants evidence to frame Trump. Wow, Trump's calling out. Maybe they planted evidence. I don't know. Some confusion about whether the cameras were on, cameras were off. We know that when the defense got a bunch of the surveillance footage, it had already been converted and reformatted into some proprietary format that the defense has problems accessing. Very curious. So maybe they did plant something. Maybe stuff got moved. You're allowed to make that argument as a defendant in America. You're allowed to say every single cop is corrupt. You're a liar. Judge is a liar. Prosecutor's a liar. Your mother's a liar. You can say that if you want. I personally like to leave mom out of it. Unless she's involved, then we're coming. But that's the point. You're allowed to say this. It's part of the natural order of criminal defense. So the government's request is necessary, Your Honor, because several intentionally false and inflammatory statements recently made by Trump that distort the circumstances under which the FBI planned and executed the search warrant. They are such babies. It's like a public relations type of motion. They're saying we did bad things and that we're just not true. Those statements create a grossly misleading impression about intentions and conduct of federal law enforcement agents. This is like a whiny complaint. It's honestly pathetic. I can't even believe a prosecutor's writing it. Grossly misleading impression. It's like a whiny Facebook post, falsely suggesting that they were complicit in a plot to assassinate him and expose those agents, some of whom will be witnesses at trial, to the risk of threats, violence, and harassment. These government officials, because Trump said some bad things. The court has an independent obligation to protect the integrity of this judicial proceeding and should take steps, says Jack, whining, to immediately halt this dangerous campaign to smear law enforcement. Now, as Trump is well aware, says Jack, the FBI took extraordinary care to execute the search warrant unobtrusively and without needless confrontation. They scheduled the search of Mar-a-Lago for a time when Trump and his family would be away. Okay, that doesn't mean that they are away. When they were scheduled to be away, would be away. All of them, someone stays behind. And why did you do that when they would be away? Because it would be a confrontational? Are you afraid? Were you worried that maybe somebody would shoot someone and you wanted them not to be there because maybe it would get violent because you have a confrontation between the FBI and the Secret Service? If this is such an unobtrusive and something without any prospect of confrontation, and you did take extraordinary care, why'd you have to wait till everybody was out of the blast zone? They plan to coordinate with Trump's attorney, the Secret Service agent, and Mar-a-Lago staff before the warrant. And they even planned for contingencies, which never even came to pass. Like we didn't have to shoot anyone, about with whom to communicate if Trump were to arrive on the scene. Yeah, what if Trump decides I'm going back home? Change of plans. So they were very nervous that, in fact, maybe he would be there. Also because they're cowards, by the way. They didn't want to look him in the eye. Why wouldn't you raid him when he's there? Weenies. He leaves. Trump is gone, and so then you can go rummage through his wife's closet and bedroom. Freaks. At least have the stones to show up when he's there and look him in the eye. Pathetic. As part of this planning, the FBI used a form that contains standard and unobjectionable language setting out the DOJ's use of force policy, which I agree would apply in normal cases. This is not a normal case, which prohibits the use of deadly force except when they have reasonable belief that the force poses imminent danger to someone else. The inclusion of that policy is just routine, and we use it to restrict the use of force, which is so dumb. Well, you kind of have to restrict it. You don't want to enable the use of force. Unless that's your objective. Yes, you always limit it, but you could just say we're not going to use force in this situation to recover documents. That's not going to be necessary when we're going against a duly elected president, breaking years of precedent in order to do it. And they say it's attached to countless warrants across the country. Okay, so if you want to do the old compare and contrast situation problem, like they do, it's the same as everything else. You're missing the fact the president is a special position. I know they have a hard time reconciling that fact, but every other person, every other administration, every other DOJ, every other outgoing administration, incoming administration has agreed with our interpretation, not theirs. So they're the ones who are changing the dynamic. They have to justify it. Moreover, as Trump is well aware, no force was used or threatened in executing the Mar-a-Lago search warrant. Yeah, it's because they all just let you guys come in. What if they said, no, you're not coming in? This is the president's personal residence. And your administration is unlawful. We are immune against your incursions onto our property. I am immune from any of your process because you're trying to criminalize my presidential acts. You have no authority to do that. Go to the Supreme Court, have them sign off on the warrant, not some magistrate judge called Bruce Reinhardt out of Florida, like he's executing a warrant for crackheads, which they never even did for Hunter. Now, as planned, the FBI executed the search warrant in a professional and cooperative manner, which their lucky Secret Service and Trump's people were good. Now, at a time when Trump and his family were out of the state, right, because they're cowards, which is why they did it this way, because they didn't want an explosion to go off and Trump to be involved, because they knew it was dangerous. Necessarily. That's what executing a search warrant is. Trump, however, they say, has distorted the standard inclusion of the policy that actually limits the use of deadly force, which it doesn't. That's just fake reversal of the semantics. Does it allow you to shoot somebody or not? Yes, it does. Okay, great. So it authorizes the use of deadly force. Yeah, but only when, oh yeah, I know. But it still allows you to do it, right? Okay, great. By mischaracterizing it as a claim that the FBI was authorized to shoot me, which they were. Give me a break, they were. If Trump came out and started popping off at FBI agents, do you think they would have shot him back? Of course they would have. They were authorized to shoot him. They clearly were just itching to do the unthinkable, and they would have loved it. Are you kidding? Christopher Wray, Andy McCabe, they would be just having dinner parties with George Conway. So Trump said, Your Honor, Trump said that we're locked and loaded and we're ready to take me out and to put my family in danger. They did. Yeah, I don't care if you have a badge or a gun or some law enforcement authorization. You taking pictures without legal cause, there's no reason for them to be in Melania's bedroom or Barron's bedroom. That's beyond the scope of your investigatory powers. You've got no cause for that. So that just makes you a pervert. And it's exploiting the privacy and the sanctity of your wife and kids. So yeah, as a father, as a husband, yeah, I'd consider that danger, clearly. So these deceptive, says Jackie, these are deceptive. These are inflammatory. They're trying to expose the law enforcement professionals who are involved in this case to unjustified and unacceptable risks. They invite the sort of threats and harassments that have occurred in other proceedings against Trump that have been targeted by his invective. So do you see where this is going? Strategically, from a legal standpoint, what Jack Smith is trying to do is create a wedge. So he knows Jack Smith has precedent to get gag orders. This is in his favor in terms of legal jurisprudence. He's got multiple other prior cases that act as precedent for gags. Chutkan gagged, Engeron gagged. We just had Mercan gagged. Now he's going to go to Cannon and say, Cannon, you have to gag him. I mean, every other judge has too. And she's going to say, no, you're just being a little whiny little bee, Jack. Your FBI agents are scared because they raided the president's house. What did they think was going to happen? What, do you think there's going to be no blowback in America? It's why we don't do this. Now, those risks have the potential to undermine the integrity of the proceedings, which have no integrity at all, and jeopardize the safety of law enforcement. And nobody's asking for threats against law enforcement. By the way, if you make a threat against law enforcement, that's illegal. They'll arrest you immediately. They don't even play around with that crap at all. At all. So if there is anything that is jeopardizing the safety of law enforcement and it's a legitimate true threat and if somebody makes a bad voicemail, go investigate it. You are the FBI after all. The court has previously underscored its independent obligation, and the court has power to impose different release conditions. Now, a condition of release that stops him from making statements that pose significant, imminent, and foreseeable danger by pointing out their policy that they wrote in their document and having an interpretation of that, that's his free speech, Jack. Such a prohibition will minimize the prejudice that Trump is causing and stop this inflammatory messaging from impacting potential jurors. It sounds like a whiny Facebook post. You've read those posts. You're like, just throw it out. Why are you complaining about it? Just throw it out. Go get a new one. Stop complaining about that thing. Okay. or just grow up. All right. This is part of becoming an adult. Just relax. So here's Jack. He continues. I don't know. He might have had a 16-year-old daughter help him with this. Let's see. He says, as explained more in other filings, we applied for a search warrant and we went and got a magistrate judge in a district court granted the application. Didn't go SCOTUS. Didn't bring up the fact that the president has a lot of explanations and justifications to retain the documents via the Presidential Records Act and many other issues of immunity that have yet to be litigated. They made it sound like Trump had absolutely illegal documents and the judge just signed off on it, rubber stamped it. I think it was even electronic. Was it an electronic voicemail? Like, it wasn't even in person. They just faxed it over like a standard DUI. The judge, they said, found probable cause for these crimes. And in preparation, we created a bunch of documents. And the government says we plan to execute this as unobtrusively as possible. And we coordinated. And we chose a date, August 8th, when we thought that it was the off season. We thought Trump wouldn't even be in Florida. And so we prepared. And we even contacted Trump's lawyers. Then we would coordinate with the Secret Service if necessary. And we had those instructions as well. But they say in the section of operations form addressing contingencies, the FBI noted that if contrary to their expectations that Trump were to arrive, FBI management would be prepared to engage with points of contacts with the Secret Service per existing liaison relationships. So if Trump comes in, they're planning for the contingency. If Trump and Secret Service arrive and Trump says, nope, feds are not raiding my wife's bedroom. Nope, feds are not raiding my son's bedroom. Get out of here. I'm the president. I have immunity for my presidential acts. Then what would they do? They would go back to the Secret Service and they would try to work it out with their existing liaison relationships. Yeah, because they don't have authority. So they'd have to work it out with Secret Service. The Secret Service would have to stand down. It'd be like in the movies. This is my jurisdiction. It's my jurisdiction. Oh, yeah? Yeah. Oh, yeah? Yeah. So it could have gone differently. Trump wasn't there. They stood down, essentially. The raid took place. Now, FBI policy requires that special agents must be armed when on official business. Really? Do you guys also have a policy for raiding presidents? Or did you just write it? Because this feels like you just wrote it. So maybe when you write a new policy, like raiding your political opponents, maybe you should reconsider what the official policy is for that unique circumstance. But no, they're just going to FBI explain to us. It's just standard policy. The operations here are standard issue weapons, and we have business casual unmarked polos or collared shirts, which just really demeans the whole thing. We're leading the polo revolution, but FBI is not allowed to be a part of it. The operations form also included a section, very standard, they say, policy statement on deadly force. It says, law enforcement may use deadly force, in this case, permission, only when necessary with a limiting factor, when the officer has reasonable belief of imminent danger or death or serious physical injury to the officer or to another person. And so we don't really know what that standard is because they can kind of do whatever they want. Is it the Ashley Babbitt standard? Somebody's, kind of coming through a window. You just shoot them. Like, is that standard? Somebody's coming out of a window at Mar-a-Lago. You just shoot them. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. So we don't really know what their standards are for the federal government. They kind of just allow everybody to do whatever. The policy statement further provides that officers should try to seek voluntary compliance before you shoot them. That's nice. Now, the FBI executed the search warrant on August 8th, and prior to the FBI's entry onto the property, they coordinated with local Secret Service. They also contacted Trump's attorney before beginning the search, and neither Trump or the family were there. At no point were any weapons drawn. They could have been. That's the point. That's why you had weapons, in case you needed to draw them. Now, after the grand jury issued the indictment, the government produced all these forms. There was nothing unusual about the forms, and we submitted them. They say the same thing all over the place. We use it all around the country every day, which is also gross when they raid everybody else's residence. This happens to be the president. We have a glistening visual of how that went down. But this happens hundreds of times every day. Raids, rummaging through people's private items. On February 22nd, Trump filed under a motion to suppress the evidence, a document under seal. He said, and we've read this now, that the government allowed the use of deadly force. Now, although Trump included the warrant in operations, the motion misquoted the operations form. It omitted the crucial word only before when necessary. And I did think I remember reading that. I did feel like it was missing something when we read that. But still, I think it's a minor, I don't know that it's crucial. It was still permitted without any ellipsis reflecting the omission. The motion also left out language explaining that necessary force is only necessary when the officer has a reasonable belief that the subject of such force poses an imminent danger. So they say, notwithstanding this mischaracterization, the motion did not seek suppression based on the policy. They say on May 21st, Trump also filed another redacted motion. And then after that, the next day, he publicly claimed on True Social, Trump posted, he said, I was shown reports of Crooked Joe's DOJ. They were authorized to use lethal, deadly force. They were authorized to shoot me. And predictably, as Trump intended, Jack Smith says, others have amplified those statements like us here. We've talked about it. Falsely characterizing the inclusion of the entirely standard language, saying that they would love to assassinate Trump, because they would. They talk about it, some of them. They don't use it in that colorful language. Well, that's not true. Dan Goldman said, we need someone to take him out. Then he apologized a couple days later. He's like, I meant politically. Yeah, right, Dan. We know what you meant. So here's what Jack says. Judge Cannon, help me. The court should modify Trump's condition of release to assure the safety of people and community. You have an independent obligation and oh gosh, here it comes. Jack Smith's about to lay it on thick. All right. Gosh, gross. He says, professional law enforcement officers and agents in this country put their lives on the lines every day, carrying out their duties to enforce the law. Every day, lives on the line. These FBI agents, all 50 of you, raiding J6ers while they're asleep at their house. Yes, I know. It's risky. He could have a gun, Rob. He could shoot us. Yeah, I know. There's like 50 of you, and you're raiding that guy with no criminal history who was in there for 2 seconds. Yes, I know. You're heroes. Yes, pat yourselves on the back. What a heroic raid. When executing court-authorized warrants, those professionals face many uncertainties and potentially grave risks. There could have been someone in Barron's bedroom. You know, Barron's bedroom Barron might have been in there with a bazooka or, some pipe bomb strapped to his chest. You don't know. Melania could have been in there with the machete hiding behind the closet. Melania, I think, she could cause some damage for sure. She has that look sometimes. You're like, someone's going to die. So that's true. These FBI agents, they could have been taken out by housekeeping at Mar-a-Lago. I know, they're real heroic people. To minimize the threat of harm to law enforcement professionals and civilians, agents plan carefully for all contingencies. They also follow standard protocols, including the prohibition on using deadly force. You're not allowed to use deadly force except when necessary, like at Mar-a-Lago when you're raiding a president. The FBI followed these entirely standard and appropriate practices here. They say, but Trump, however, has grossly distorted these standard practices by mischaracterizing them as a plan to kill him. Trump is saying they're going to just take us out. Our family and our Secret Service agents. They say those deceptive and inflammatory assertions irresponsibly put a target on the backs of the FBI agents who were involved in this case. Now, as Trump well knows, indeed, Trump himself recognizes the power of his words and their effect on his audience. They apparently And his documented, this is wild. Trump has said this. He says, my supporters listen to me like no one else. And his documented pattern of speech and its demonstrated real-time, real-world consequences have posed significant threats when he makes inflammatory claims. Trump's risks have justified restriction, here it is, on his other extrajudicial speech, right? The other judges did it, Cannon. Indeed, an armed attack on an FBI office in Cincinnati, Ohio. Oh, boy. We haven't seen this yet. An armed attack on an FBI office. So historically, they've been saying that there's been mean statements. Fanny's been called a racist. Engeron's been called a pervert. His clerk, GF Greenfield, is under attack. Okay, but they're just social media posts. They're just bad language. Now we have an armed attack on an FBI office by one of Trump's supporters. Maybe the FBI should get some more powers and be able to censor and focus on Trump supporters some more, just like in 2020. In the wake of his statements inflaming supporters about the speech of Mar-a-Lago. Now, under the Bail Reform Act, a judicial officer shall issue something to stop the disruption. Here, Trump has conditions of release, and so you're allowed to modify those conditions of release. And so the court should exercise its authority to impose a condition that Trump may not make public statements that pose a significant, imminent, or foreseeable danger to law enforcement. Don't say bad things about our corrupt feds. Whether a particular statement meets that test must be determined by the context. But that condition would prohibit him from deceptively claiming that the agents wanted to kill him. As such, you should make that clear. Your Honor, the modification would also comport with the First Amendment, says Jack. Yeah, he has a constitutional right to speak, but he doesn't have an unlimited right to speak. And so these measures are appropriate. We could put a restriction on him saying that he should avoid all contact with witnesses, and he's already agreed to other release conditions. So courts overseeing these cases can do the same thing here. Trump cannot evade you keeping control of your courtroom by dressing up his inflammatory messages with political speech. Just because he's running for office doesn't mean he gets to say whatever he wants. This is endangering, and there are significant harms created by Trump's speech. And so the law enforcement agents participating in this case, says Jack, they conducted the search in an appropriate and professional manner, including taking pictures of Barron and Melania's bedrooms. Subject to the DOJ standard use of force policy, Trump's repeated mischaracterization, saying that we attempted to kill him and kill his family, has endangered law enforcement officers. They're they're probably in hiding right now, all these FBI agents. Hey man, just checking in on you. Are you still alive? Barely, man. I'm barely alive. We're going to make it through it. These poor FBI agents involved in the investigation and the prosecution in this case and threaten the integrity of these proceedings. And so a restriction prohibiting future statements does not restrict legitimate speech. And so Trump's conditions should be modified. Oh, yeah, we knew who this was coming from. Jay Bratt, the Florida Oompa Loompa, waddling around there in the classified documents case. And it reads just like a whiny little Facebook post. Hey, my officers are so scared because Trump's calling them assassins. Well, why did they raid his house? Have people been shot before at other raids? Here's a question for them. If you want to compare and contrast raids, has another raid ever resulted in a dead suspect? Yeah, all the time. Happens all the time. So is it reasonable for Trump to say, you said it's just like every other raid. We put this in every form. Every time we invade someone's house, we put the form in there. Here, use of force. Okay, perfect. So if other people get murdered by their own government in their houses, in other raids that had that stupid policy in it, it's reasonable to conclude by your own logic, the same thing could happen here. So Trump is exactly right that there is a possibility that he would have been dead. And they, of their own volition, thought that this risk, there's a small risk of death, was outweighed by their justice and the need to go get these documents, for which there were apparently already copies of back in Obama's DOD server logs. So that is what they filed. They are panicked. They're trying to, I think, create a wedge, trying to show that Judge Cannon is not like the others. And they brought out this guy, Andy McCabe. They spent a lot of time on this segment over on CNN. And let me share this with you, because they brought out
on the breaking news that we are getting.
Quiet, Caitlin. I'm not ready for you yet. They not only brought out George Conway, but they brought out this guy. Remember Andy McCabe? And he's going to come FBI explain to us about why this is necessary. It's just a regular old form. And then they brought on Conway, and they brought him out too. Stop making a big deal of this, okay? They were not trying to kill Trump.
And they say professional law enforcement officers and agents in this country put their lives on the line every day and carrying out their duties to enforce the law. And they're saying that when executing court authorized warrants, those professionals face many uncertainties and potentially grave risks. And they're saying to minimize that, agents here are just planning for all contingencies. That is part of their job. And that is why you could read about that deadly use of force policy in this search warrant.
That's absolutely right, Caitlin. So this is, important to understand the context. This is an operations plan,
FBI
which is
right
required for the execution of every search warrant and arrest warrant that FBI agents engage in. This is part of FBI policy. And the operations plan includes tons of information, primarily for the other agents who are going to take part in that operation. It tells them where to go, when to be there, who's going to be driving which vehicles, all sorts of things like that. This particular section is required. It is part of the form. Like, it's not even something that agents have to type in on every plan, because it's baked into the form. And that is a recitation of the DOJ's authorization to use lethal force. Lethal force. The reason it's there is to make sure that every agent who goes out on this operation understands the limits of using lethal force, that
you can. So you don't just get to automatically shoot someone. You have to really need to shoot someone. And they authorize that at Trump's residence. So this is Andy McCabe. That's about as much as we can listen to from him. But he, of course, was involved in the Hillary Clinton email cover-up. He was investigating her, and weird things happened. Then he was involved in the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, creating that fictional story when he was there at the FBI. He was deputy director under James Comey. Now he's gone. Now he's a columnist, or he's a commentator over with Caitlin Collins, Fed-splaining to us how it all works and how dumb we are for not trusting the FBI to raid everyone in America that they disagree with. So Jack Smith, absolutely freaking out. You can tell because his motion sounds like a high school child who's upset with something that happened. And actually, that's kind of an insult to high school kids. This came from Jay Bratt, who is a lot less sophisticated than them. So we got more coming out on this. Of course, Trump's team's going to respond. The Judge Cannon, Eileen Cannon, will be ruling on this. We'll see if there's a hearing on this. And we'll say our prayers for all the FBI agents who are now in hiding after having ransacked Melania's bedroom. I'm sure they're very nervous. Hopefully that they'll recognize the errors of their ways, repent, and then recover in time. We'll be here continuing to cover this, my friends. We've got a great segment coming up next. If you like this one, wait until we talk about what's going on in New York with those jury instructions. We will see you right there. All right, and let's just continue on and join and get in to the next segment on the day, my friends. It's a beautiful and amazing Monday. And let's see what's going on in New York. The Trump trial jury instructions have been released. We now have the drafts. These are not the final official versions, but these have been jointly submitted from both sides, and so they're very, very close. Judge Merchan is going to issue the final red lines on them, and then they're going to go off to the jurors. But this came in from both sides, from the government and from the defense, joint motions for various components of the Bragg prosecution. We know 34 counts, falsifying business records is the main charge. And so we'll look at those instructions first. But there were also the predicate offenses, the object offenses. The idea being that this got escalated from a misdemeanor into a felony because Trump not only was falsifying business records, allegedly, which would have been a misdemeanor, but he was falsifying those business records in order to commit some other offense, or to intend at least to commit some other offense. What other offense? We still don't know, but we're going to explore 2 jury instructions, one for the FECA violations, one for the New York election law violations. We still don't know if tax law is going to come into the jury instructions, but we have a placeholder for that when that one is released. Now, the problem here is that the judge has now come out and said any crime that is a predicate crime is sufficient. In other words, the jurors don't have to agree unanimously on one of these other object offenses. Of course, we think that is dead wrong. Greta Van Susteren also agrees, and you know who else does? The Supreme Court. We have a case called Richardson versus United States, which shows us that you got to agree on the elements. That's kind of how the law works. We don't want it to be a pick a crime, any crime situation. Pick a card, any card, whatever you want, you're a winner. We need to have clear elements so the defense has notice about what those elements are. So we have some specificity about the crime. It's a due process problem that Judge Merchan apparently doesn't care about at all. So we'll go through the instructions. We'll also ask ourselves about accomplice liability, accessory liability, and then get reaction from inside Jen Psaki, Alina, Habba, and Doug Burgum to round out this segment. So stick around for that reaction. But first and foremost, Judge Merchan continues to try to rig this thing, saying the jurors can basically do whatever they want, just pick any crime that is sufficient, as long as it makes them feel good inside and they heard something that keys them off on that, good enough. And this makes it a lot more difficult, I think, for Trump to get a hung jury, because they can all just pick whatever they want. They all just have a menu. I'll take that one. I'll take that one. You want that one? I would never have that. That sounds disgusting. But if that works for you, you can order that. So how do you have a hung jury when everybody can pick whatever they want? So here's the judge, apparently, according to Josh Gerstein, reporting for Politico, says, to convict Trump of felonies, the jury does not need to unanimously agree on what the predicate crime is. Wild. Whatever they want. Did he intended to do something bad? Well, what did he intend to do bad? Whatever you want. To find Trump guilty of felony level falsification, jury, of course, must find unanimously that there were falsified business records, but the judge ruled that not all jurors have to agree on what the separate crime was. Trump's defense argued that to issue a felony level conviction, all jurors should be required to agree on the predicate crime. That's what a unanimous jury is. You're unanimous on all of the elements. Prosecutors initially laid out 4 possible predicate crimes. One, the judge said no. The others are the tax crimes, the state crime, and the Fed election crimes. Now, the defense attorney, when we were in court, Emile Beauvais, he argued, he said, Your Honor, jurors should have to agree on a single predicate offense. But Matthew Colangelo, the Biden prosecutor who left the Biden DOJ to come resurrect this zombie case, said, the law doesn't require that. He says, Your Honor, no. The importance of the case is not a basis for deviating from the standard application of the law. The law says this. There's no reason to rewrite the law for this case. It doesn't say you have to be clear, just any crime. Merchan agreed with the prosecution and said he won't impose the requirement that the defense requested. In other words, if some jurors believe that Trump falsified business documents solely to cover up a tax crime, and other jurors believe no, he falsified business records to cover up an election crime, they can still convict him. That's how they're going to break the hung jury. The jury can still convict Trump on the felony level falsifying documents charge, despite disagreeing on the predicate crimes. Pick a crime, any crime, doesn't matter. You can just do whatever you want. This is not obviously justice at all, because the jury can choose their own adventure, whatever they heard. So Trump has to defend against a bunch of hypothetical crimes, which is basically impossible, because the jurors can just have a very loose, open standard, and they can agree on it. Now, this is what the judge has allowed. This is the judge's ruling. I think the judge is wrong, and I think the judge is going to get reversed on appeal, but they don't care about that. All they want right now is a felony conviction to stick. They need 34 felony convictions, and they just, or any, even if they split it, even if they say Trump is only responsible for the ones that he signed. So maybe they throw out the ones that were signed by Eric and Weisselberg. They still just need a conviction, and they'll be able to parlay that into their campaign. So the problem with that is it's wrong. Greta Van Susteren posted this one. Says, yeah, we looked this up. Says, here's the Supreme Court case on unanimity. She referenced Richardson versus United States. And so let's just brief this real fast. This came out from the Cornell Law School brief site. And here they give us some background on what this case was all about. You see, it tells us that there was a trial that was looming. So some background on this actual case that Greta cited for us. Says there was this guy, his name was Richardson, said that you cannot, there's a statute, you cannot engage in a continuing criminal enterprise. What does that mean? What was it? What did they have to prove in order for it to be continuing? Was it a series of violations? Was it one violation and you have to prove the one violation? Complexities about how the rules work, kind of a bad statute. Now, what happened was the judge instructed the jurors that they must unanimously agree that the defendant committed at least 3 federal narcotic offenses. So he said you committed 3 violations, but you did not have to agree on the particular offenses. So the government would throw up like 20 different options. That was an offense. That wasn't an offense. That was one too. And throw out a bunch of stuff to see what sticks. The jurors just have to pick 3. There's 20 options. Just pick 3. The jury said, oh, we can do that. No problem. So they convicted him easily, obviously. But this got reversed. Nope. The case must unanimously agree, a jury, that not only that the defendant committed a continuing series of violations, so the sequence, but also about which specific violation make up the continuing series. So you have to be specific about each sub-violation in order to get the continuity. It's very similar to what we have here. In terms of, we have a series of checks. They're alleging a conspiracy. There is no conspiracy charge. And they're saying that Trump, they don't have to prove what the object offense was for the business records. They say a jury in a federal criminal case, this was at the Fed level, not the state level, cannot convict unless it unanimously finds that the government has proved each element of the offense. However, it doesn't need to do so when there are several possible means. So now we're talking about the means to do the offense and the elements of the offense itself. Now we can get into the weeds on that, so we'll fast forward through it. But they tell us that if you can just aggregate this stuff, it's a problem. If each violation is a separate element and we want juror unanimity, that protects the law. If we don't do it, we will cover up wide disagreement amongst the jurors. If we allow them to choose their own adventure, this is the policy reason why we don't do this. We will cover up wide disagreement. We'll just paper over it. That's exactly why Judge Merchan is allowing this, because it gives them their own options. And the government may also seek to prove that there were numerous underlying violations. And the court has also indicated that the Constitution itself limits the state's power to define crimes in ways that would allow juries to convict while disagreeing about the means when there is unfairness in the process. So we want unanimity. We don't want people to have their own adventures, because then everybody goes to prison for anything the jurors want. Everybody is going to hear something that they didn't like, but it's proving it beyond a reasonable doubt. Not everybody just gets to order off the criminal menu. So Judge Merchan is wrong about it. He doesn't care that he's wrong about it. He's perfectly okay being wrong about it. He's been put here for a reason. He has a mission, and which is to lead to a certain outcome, and he's creating the rules of the game to get us there. Now, he is going to be considering jury instructions. And so let's take a look at what these look like. These are the proposed jury instructions. And these have come in from both sides. You can see this was scanned in. We have some highlights on here, and it's probably a little bit hard to see some of the highlights. What I am envisioning here is that there is a blue highlighter here and probably a yellow highlighter here that is not showing up on the copy. So, you know, when you Xerox some highlighters, they don't copy. So this is the joint version, but there will be sentences that are highlighted probably in yellow that we won't be able to see, and probably in blue that we will be able to see. And there are disagreements as to what the final version should be. But highlighted in blue is the defense. They say, this is what we want in, but the government is saying we object to this. I'm sure there's also some yellow highlights that we can't see that the government wants in that the defense is objecting to. So there's disputes in this document, but we can see more or less how it works. So this is what Judge Mercan is now considering prior to issuing the final instructions to the jurors. So the jurors will get something that looks just like this. It says, the first count, ladies and gentlemen, is falsifying business records in the first degree as it pertains to an invoice from Michael Cohen. Remember, it's invoice, ledger, and check. Felony, felony, felony times multiple months equals 34. Marked as a record of Trump's revocable trust. Now, under our law, these are the instructions, a person is guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree when he has the intent to defraud. That includes an intent to commit another crime or to aid or conceal the commission thereof. That's the aggravator. That person makes or causes a false entry in the business records of an enterprise. So that's the object offense. This is pointing to something else. Commit another crime. The question is what? They define this for us. Enterprise means any entity, one or more persons. Commercial, business, industrial. So someone will say, oh, Trump organization. I heard Trump organization, so that sounds right. Business records, including computer data program, reflecting its condition or activity. So they'll say business record. Okay, that's a ledger. We heard a witness with a ledger talk about bookkeeping, right? Thinking as a juror might. Intent means conscious objective or purpose. Okay, so now we get into some complexities. Thus, a person acts with intent to defraud with his or her conscious objective is the purpose to defraud. Now, the defense wants this sentence in. Thus, a person acts with intent to defraud when his or her conscious objective or purpose is to lead another into error or to disadvantage. Okay, so that's, did any of this NDA stuff lead someone into error or to disadvantage? Stormy? No, she made money. Did the IRS lose any money? Was this a tax problem? No. So the defense wants to narrow it down so the jurors have questions over that sentence. The government does not want that sentence in. A person causes a false entry when, even if he does not prepare the business record, the creation of the business record is reasonably foreseeable consequence of his conduct. So did Trump do something to cause this business record to be entered and entered falsely? Intent does not require premeditation, they say. In other words, intent does not require advanced planning, nor is it necessary that the intent is in the brain for a certain period of time. The intent can be formed, need only exist at the very moment they do it. How do you determine intent? They say, jurors, you must decide if the required intent can be inferred beyond a reasonable doubt. You may consider their conduct. What did they say? What result followed their conduct? What's the probable consequence of that conduct? And therefore, in this case, from the facts you've decided, do you think that this person had the intent to commit the crime? Judge says, as I previously explained, a person acts with intent to defraud, defining that phrase, when his or her conscious objective or purpose is to defraud. In order to prove that, the government need not prove that the defendant Trump acted with intent to defraud any particular person. So it can be defraud anything. Just a general intent. Wow. A general intent to defraud any person or entity, including the government or the voting public, suffices. So I don't know if the defense is objecting to that, right? I would presume that that is probably a government sentence that's highlighted yellow, but I don't know. Intent to defraud is also not constricted to an intent to deprive another of property or money. In fact, intent to defraud can be extended beyond economic concerns. So all the liberal jurors are like, bingo, bingo, bingo. Now, for the count of falsifying business records, the intent to defraud must include intent to commit another crime, saying under our law, although the people must prove an intent to commit another crime, they don't need to prove the other crime was in fact committed. In addition, there's no requirement that the defendant intend to conceal or aid the commission of his own crime. Instead, a person can commit this crime by having intent to cover up a crime committed by someone else. So that's a sentence for Michael Cohen. Say Michael Cohen committed a crime. So Trump maybe paid him back and falsified the business record to cover him up. So in order for you to find Trump guilty of this crime, the people are required to prove each of the two elements beyond a reasonable doubt. First, that on or about February 14th, Trump personally or by acting in concert with another caused a false entry in business records of an enterprise, which was an invoice from Cohen to Trump. And then lastly, second, they got to hit both of these. So these are the elements. And then second, that the defendant did so with the intent to defraud that included an intent to commit another crime or to aid or conceal the commission thereof. Now that is verbatim from the statute. So what Trump's defense wants is to add in this second sentence. So they want to tighten that up because, right? Trump did so with intent to defraud that included an intent to commit another crime. Well, what other crime? Whatever you want, jurors, just whatever you want. Leave it open-ended. Take that blue sentence off and you can do whatever you want. Thus, for this second element, the defense wants this in there. We'll see what the judge does with it. Thus, for the second element, the people must establish beyond a reasonable doubt two separate intents. So one would be intent to defraud and the intent, typo there, to aid or conceal the commission of another crime, which I will define for you shortly. So they want the other crime, essentially, to be specified. What was the intent? And the intent for the other crime should be, and this should be unanimous based on what that other crime is. So it could be one of three options, but I'll define it for you shortly. So the judge will probably nix that sentence and leave this much more open-ended. You don't want a bunch of additional rules. Just open up that hula hoop, expand it, so that the jurors can pick whatever they want. This is a big, wide open option. You can pick, this crime or this crime or this crime or this crime or this crime. The defense is right here. You got you can only dance within this location. So, all right, that is the main charge. And they're still going to decide, I think, on these details. And I can't tell what these are, so what the defense is objecting to, but I think we've got an idea of what that would be. So that's the main charge. Now we also have the object offense. So again, Trump created a false business record with intent to commit another crime, but not actually commit the crime. Doesn't have to actually be convicted for it. Just intent. Doesn't have to take steps in furtherance of it. So, federal election crime. Under the Federal Election Campaign Act, the jurors are told this: it is unlawful for an individual, defense wants the word willfully in there, to make a contribution to any candidate with respect to any election for federal office. In 2016, the limit was $2,700. They again want a mens rea word in there, an intentional type of word. It's also unlawful under the FECA for any corporation to willfully make a contribution of any amount for a candidate. In 2015 and 16, the defense wants this added. They want to say there was no limit on a candidate's ability to contribute personal funds to his or her campaign. So in other words, Trump could have used his own money, as he did, and so that would allow him to do this. So the judge will probably keep that out because this takes the meat out of the rest of this, right? This makes it sound like Trump did something illegal, Well, the jurors are going to look at this and say, well, Stormy Daniels was $130,000, and they said he did it to rig an election, and it would help him in the election. And $130,000 is a lot more than $2,700. So it sounds like maybe that's a violation because he gave more money than maybe the law says. They also say the terms contribution and expenditure include anything of value, including any purchase. Defense wants the phrase, the purpose of influencing any election requires proof that the activity clearly and unambiguously related to the campaign. Judge will nix that for sure. They say under federal law, a third party's payment of a candidate's expenses is deemed to be a contribution. So Michael Cohen paid, that was his contribution. Now, the defense wants there are a number of issues arising from a candidate's personal situation that may become campaign issues, but expenses arising from those contributions are not necessarily campaign expenses. Okay, so Trump can pay for things that, yes, they'll help his campaign, but they're also regular things. Like he doesn't want his wife to know about the NDA. He doesn't want his brand to be hit from, or he doesn't want his wife to know about the affair, right? Even if it's alleged, whether it's real or not. The brand, the Trump brand, doesn't benefit from Trump being an adulterer. So yes, it's going to help the campaign, but it's also necessary for other components of his professional life. Now, the political impact of legal issues on a campaign will not by itself, Trump wants this in here, justify the treatment of any legal expense as a campaign expense. Legal expenses are not campaign related merely because of the underlying legal activities have some impact on the campaign. If the payment would have been made even in the absence of a candidacy, the payment should not be treated as a contribution. Would Trump have signed this anyways if he were not running? They give us the FECE definition of contribution and expenditure. Does not include any costs for news magazines. So they're trying to say Trump, that was illegal. And Trump's team says, no, this is called press exemption. Legitimate press function is a broad concept. For example, the term legitimate press function includes solicitation letters and seeking new subscribers to a publication. So maybe we are allowed to do that and add that into the instructions so the jurors can wrestle with that. I'm sure basically every one of these blue sections that is proposed by the defense will not be included. So that is FECA. This is the New York predicate. The people also allege that Trump intended to commit or violate New York law. Section 17152 of New York election law says that if two people conspire to promote someone by unlawful means, that's illegal. Under our law, a person is guilty of conspiracy, which Trump was never charged with intent that conduct be performed that would promote or prevent the election of a public person to public office. Now, knowledge of a conspiracy does not make the defendant a co-conspirator. The defendant must intend that conduct be performed to promote or prevent the election. Intent means conscious objective or purpose. Thus, a person acts with intent when it's their conscious objective. Now, thus a person acts with intent that conduct constituting a crime be performed when the person acts willfully with a conscious objective. Evidence that Trump was present when others agreed to engage in the performance of a crime does not by itself show that Trump personally agreed to engage in the conspiracy. The defense wants this added. Proof of a separate or independent conspiracy is not sufficient in determining whether or not any single conspiracy has been shown by the evidence in the case. Jurors, you must decide whether common goals or objectives existed, which served as the focal point for the efforts. You may consider the length of time, the conspiracy, mutual dependence, and other things. Now, although you must conclude unanimously that Trump conspired to promote or prevent the election, you need not be unanimous as to what those unlawful means were. So they can just pick whatever they want. In determining whether Trump conspired to promote or prevent the election of any person to public office by unlawful means, you may consider the following unlawful means. It's incredibly circular. So violations of the FECA, the falsification of other business records, or the violation of tax laws. So this is insane. But these other business records, I'm guessing not the business records in this case. So what are they talking about? It must be the AMI records. It must be the Droopy McDougal and AMI records. So Trump falsified those records. Those records were falsified in order to promote or further a conspiracy. Under New York law, a conspiracy violates state law. That would be the predicate crime. We're like 7 layers deep now. It's like Inception. Before we get back to the original offense, which is the false business records escalated into a felony. Now, as I mentioned, the judge is telling the jurors, this requires proof that the goal of the conspiracy, this is what Trump's team wants, is to promote the election of a person by unlawful means. Now, the people allege that the unlawful means at issue involve the FECA, the falsification of other business records. But you must reach a unanimous decision whether the people have established unlawful means, and if so, which unlawful means were at issue. I will provide you with the verdict form so you can indicate your conclusions on these issues, and that's also going to be important, the verdict form. Now, in addition, under New York law, false business records in the second degree is when you create false entries. For the purposes of determining this, you may use unlawful means. You may consider whether the bank records associated with Michael Cohen's, unbelievable, Michael Cohen's account formation paperwork. So Trump is not being charged with a crime for Michael Cohen creating fake LLCs, but Michael Cohen did create fake LLCs, Resolution Consultants and Essential Consultants. And so they're saying he did that in order to enable this. Also, the bank records associated with Michael Cohen's wire. So Michael Cohen's transactions are now going to be used as evidence that Trump was furthering a conspiracy in violation of New York law. The invoice from Investor Advisory Services and the 1099 forms that the Trump organization issued to Michael Cohen. So they can just literally pick whatever they want. These are not even these are not even in this case as charged offenses. Trump is only charged with the false business records, but now everything else Michael Cohen did can be evidence that Trump wanted that done in furtherance of a conspiracy. Trump is part of a conspiracy because Michael Cohen did all these things. Now, also under New York law, there it is, there's the tax one. It's unlawful to knowingly supply or submit false information for tax returns. Under federal law, it's unlawful for a person to willfully make any tax return that's fraudulent, that you don't believe is true. And under federal, state, and local laws, this conduct is unlawful even if it does not result in the underpayment of taxes. So this is about as broad as it gets, my friends. This is not good news for the defense at all, in my opinion. I think this gives them an option to basically do whatever they want. And even a holdout is going to have a hard time not following these rules. Like, these are the rules they have to follow. If this is a board game and you get the rules, you follow the rules. Of course, the rules are rigged in favor of a predetermined outcome. But if these are the rules and they can just pick any of these things, it's not legally accurate at all, but this might be what the jurors are getting. So it's absolutely wild to see it in writing. Now, here is where the jurors can give us some credibility concerns. They say, you listen to a convicted perjurer, you listen to a porn star, and a bunch of grifters who absolutely hate Trump and want him destroyed. So you get to determine the truthfulness and the accuracy of the testimony of each witness. The judge says, ladies and gentlemen, now you must decide whether a witness told the truth and was accurate, or whether they testified falsely or mistakenly. You must also decide what importance to give the testimony you accept as truthful. If you find any witness has intentionally testified falsely, you may disregard that witness's entire testimony. So if Michael Cohen lied on the stand, you can disregard his entire testimony, which the jurors should do. Or you may disregard so much of it as you find untruthful and accept so much of it as you find truthful or accurate. So just pick what you choose. Pick and choose. Now, there is no particular formula for evaluating truthfulness. You bring to this process all your experiences. What you use in life, you can use here. Here are some things to consider. Did the witness have an opportunity to see or hear the events? Could they recall those things? Did they sound plausible? Were they consistent or inconsistent? Did the manner in which they testified matter? Did you consider their background, their training, their education? Did they show a conscious bias? Yes. Did they show hostility or some other attitude? Did the witness show an unconscious bias? You may also have some questions about their motive. Did they have a motive to lie? If a witness did have a motive to lie, you may consider whether and to what extent the motive affected their truthfulness. If they did not have a motive to lie, you may also consider that as well. You may consider whether a witness hopes for or expects to receive a benefit for testifying. Both of them did. If so, you may consider how that impacts them. Do they have an interest in the outcome of the case? Now, you're not required to accept the testimony of anybody who does. You may also consider their prior criminal conduct, and you may consider their inconsistent statements, whether they testified to a fact that was omitted and discovered later. For those inconsistent statements, you can decide if that impacts their truthfulness. You may also decide whether they are consistent. Now, you have heard the defense wants this included. You have heard testimony that a judge found that blank testified falsely in an unrelated proceeding. That's Cohen. And that judge's determination is not binding on your determination of Cohen's credibility in this case. You may, however, consider that determination along with other evidence in this case in evaluating the truthfulness of Cohen's testimony before you. And the government does not want that in there because they don't want to call attention that Cohen lied in another hearing. They don't want that coming out at all. So the government will object to that. The judge will probably keep that out. You've also heard about speaking to witnesses in preparation for this. You should know that talking to witnesses is perfectly normal. We're allowed to do it. And that is it for the credibility jury instructions. Now, we also have some connections, accomplice liability, accessory liability. So they're instructing the jurors briefly on this one, saying under our law, Michael Cohen is an accomplice because there is evidence that he participated in a crime. The defense wants that. The government wants participated in and convicted of 2 crimes. Based upon conduct involving the allegations here, they say our law in New York is especially concerned about the testimony of an accomplice who implicates another in the commission of a crime, particularly when the accomplice has received some benefits in return for the testimony. And so therefore, our law says that a defendant may not be convicted of a crime based on the testimony of an accomplice unless there's some corroborating evidence. In other words, even if you find the testimony of Cohen to be believable, you may not convict Trump solely on the testimony unless it was corroborated by other evidence. So Cohen committed a crime. Now he's just going to rat on the other guy. So that is not reliable unless you also have some independent evidence to support that. The corroborating evidence need not by itself prove the crime or that he's guilty, but what the law requires is that there tends to be a connection between the two. In determining whether there is necessary corroboration, you may also consider the testimony of Michael Cohen, and you may also consider whether there is material, believable evidence apart from Cohen that harmonizes with the narrative as an accomplice. So can Trump be guilty by implication? The jurors will be assessing that as well. Now, accessorial liability, our law also recognizes that 2 or more individuals can jointly commit a crime, acting in concert. Our law defines the circumstances when this might be held appropriate. It says, when one person engages in conduct which constitutes an offense, another is criminally liable when they have the same state of mind, he or she solicits the other person and then aids that other person in the commission of the crime. Saying in order for Trump to be held criminally liable for the conduct of another, in other words, Trump got Cohen to do it, that Trump solicited someone else, that he or she was in the state of mind to commit the offense, the defense wants willfully in there. If it's proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is criminally liable, then the participation in the crime does not matter. The people have the burden of proving the stuff beyond a reasonable doubt. And we got a bunch of footnotes here. So, all right. So those are the jury instructions. All of them are now up for the judge's review. And they're not good. They don't look good. They're about what we expected. Not only is the judge saying they can essentially pick any predicate offense, but tucked in that second predicate offense, that New York election law offense, they can pick any other documents that they say were falsified as furtherance of a conspiracy to satisfy that predicate offense. I think it's going to be very difficult to get an acquittal, obviously, but even a hung jury, there's going to be a lot of pressure on holdouts to find a category in there. And if they don't have to agree, they can just choose their own adventure. It's going to be rough. So Biden is planning a victory party on this. I think they might be intimating they know what the outcome is. Biden has stayed silent on the Trump trial. The verdict is going to change that. The Bidens will speak at some point, whether it's a conviction or not. He plans to break his vow of silence and publicly address the criminal trials. 4 people familiar with the deliberations have told Politico. Biden intends to initially address the verdict in a White House setting. So using the power of the pulpit to get out there, the White House setting will enable him to reach a huge audience, and he's going to use the official seat of the government to do it, to show his statement isn't political. Okay. He's going to address his prosecution of his political opponents and say it's not political. If the jury convicts him, Biden's team will argue the result shows Trump is ill-suited. For what? Falsifying business records? The campaign social media team is considering leveraging the line of attack even further, saying convicted felon Donald Trump. His team is also preparing for a barrage of Republican and Trump attacks. If he's acquitted, if there's a hung jury, they're going to escalate this. They're pretty excited about doing so. So Inside Jen Psaki was out there. We'll just play a short bit of this so you can see what these people are talking about. We have not only do we have Weissman here, but they brought out Neil Katyal as well. And Jen Psaki's hit show. They're having a conversation about this. Let's see where this clip was. I thought I had this queued up here.
He was a liar, that he's in it for his own ends, that he's in it for ego because he's not a spurned lover, but a spurned lawyer by Donald Trump and the like. And what the prosecution is going to say, picking up on what Andrew said just a moment ago, and I totally agree with it, is that this is not just a case about Michael Cohen. It's a case about Michael Cohen plus. Cohen is just gravy. And it's things like the Hope Hicks testimony that Andrew referred to, but it's also handwritten notes that we've got and those checks that you just flashed on the screen a moment ago, which picks up on paragraph 33 in the complaint. These are checks that Donald Trump himself signed. And so that shows knowledge of the whole scheme. And I think at the end of the...
All right, so Trump signed some checks, as he does many other checks. The question is the jury going to pick his checks that he signed? Are they going to pick certain crimes that they think satisfy their appetite? Or how will this whole thing come undone? We've got Doug Burgum, who has been on the short list for vice president, who is also out, talking about how America has already acquitted Trump. And I agree with him. I think people were waiting for a big explosive smoking gun, big reveal, fireworks in this trial. All we got was more confirmation that it is a rigged prosecution. Michael Cohen, Stormy Daniels, these people have been their heroes for a long time. They came out, they confirmed, like Michael Cohen did, not only did he lie about a phone call, he was actually being harassed by a 14-year-old, but he also stole money from the Trump organization, $30,000 grossed up to $60,000. It's a disaster for them. So even if Trump is convicted, in fact, I think if he is convicted, he will become even more of a martyr than he already is. And it will exacerbate his momentum. It will increase the energy at his sales.
Well, first of all, I'd like to call it the alleged business filing error case, because that's really what the core of it is. And I think it's failed to get any traction because I think Americans see right through it. Americans have already acquitted Donald Trump. I think they realize that when you've got 5 weeks and you can't even prove or even articulate what crime has been committed. So I had a chance a week ago Tuesday to be in the courthouse with the president and observe for a whole day, not just get the filter of what the media might be telling you. And what I observed there, when I watched, that was the day that Michael Cohen went from wrapping up his the prosecution's leading set of yes and no questions to watching him get destroyed by the prosecution. And it may have been the day that he also then now is a serial perjurer, perjured himself again on that day, getting caught up in all the lies that he's had. And then the next day, on the Wednesday, I was going back to North Dakota, and I'm watching the media coverage, and it was like, I think that they were at a different trial than I was at. And so it's
on that point, do you think most of the media are rooting for a conviction?
Well, I think that certain business models in media today are geared around their audiences, and those audiences are absolutely, and I think the Biden administration has got it, their whole campaign is hoping for that. I mean, that's their whole strategy, is to be able to put a label on the former president that they think might be helpful. But I said Americans aren't buying. It's actually backfired because
I think
President Trump, who's the master of earned media, I mean, getting free press and getting attention and having all eyes on him. I mean, he's masterfully used this to help expose the weakness in a broad set of the lawfare that's going against him.
You have said,
I think he's right about that. It's that third act. It's Batman is going into the exploding building. His car's gone. His girl's gone. His airplane's gone. He's just got that one rappel thing. And he makes it to the top of the building. And everybody gets saved. You go, oh my gosh, these are insurmountable odds. How is he able to do it? And it's because people are recognizing it's unjust. Okay. Just like the Joker comes in, wrecks Gotham City. Joe Biden has done the same thing. People are saying, oh, that's not working out so well. So it feels like we're dealing with corrupt monsters. Now, Alina Habba comes out and explains it like it is. She says, you know what? They have no facts. In this case, it's Alina Habba.
The instructions we've been going back and forth with are going to be finally tweaked. The concern with the instructions, which is frankly the most critical part, they have no facts. Let's be clear. I sat through this trial, and I would tell you if I was concerned on factual basis. But as I've said, and I'm not speaking now to posture for the president, but just generally as an attorney, as an American who understands the law and how to apply laws to facts, there are no facts that support this alleged crime. We're not even sure what the crime is. So it's a books and records issue. We have to make sure that the jury charges that Judge Merchan, who again, we have said is severely conflicted for reasons that I can't speak to because of the unconstitutional gag order. But this judge is the judge that determines the jury instructions. The jury instructions are the roadmap for non-attorneys and jurors to follow the law. It's going to be critical, and frankly, at this point, I have zero confidence in the fact that this person, who should not be sitting on the bench right now, will do the right thing and give jury instructions that are in an appropriate manner without any persuasion towards the prosecution. There's my biggest concern. It always has been. There was no.
Yeah, it's hard to win a case when the jury instructions are telling the jurors to convict you. You can pick this one or this one. If you don't like this one, we'll get you this one. Would you like to try this one? How about some more of those? They have all the possibilities in the world. There's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure on them to convict him. So we'll be here to see if we get a copy of the final jury instructions. There's been some headlines, some rumors that maybe Judge Merchan will not, in fact, release the jury instructions or the jury forms until after they're rendered. We'll, of course, keep our eye out on those. And so thanks for subscribing and sticking around. We've got a bunch of other stuff here, including this other video coming up right now that you're going to love. So stick around, check that video out, and we'll see you over there. Okay, so you'll notice that was a new ending. So we're just segmenting our segments. We're going to try to connect them into another segment. All right, so that's why the segments will end that way. Now you know. All right, so that, my friends, is it for us here on the day. Trump trial jury instructions released. They don't look good based on what we've seen so far. I hate to break it to all of us, but it's about what we expected. We also have Jack Smith. He's freaking out, though. Not happy about what's going on in Judge Cannon's courtroom. And either way, even if we have bad jury instructions, this case is not good. I think that even if he is convicted, which still a possibility that he's not, it will solidify the truth that these are prosecutorial hack jobs, and people will realize what we've been dealing with. So now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. It's a great, beautiful Memorial Day. I hope you're having an awesome day, whether you are working or not. You are enjoying the time and, of course, pausing to remember the reason for the day. We are going to say hello to you, my friends. Thank you for sending in these amazing donos and super chats. Look at these comments in the house. What a beautiful day. Look at these, man. We got this one from our friend John McGarvey. United we stand. Happy Memorial Day as we pause and remember our heroes. Good to see you, John. Thanks for that one. Flagpole guy sharing this one. Thank you to the lost at war. I pray your eternities are forever blessed. Look at this photo. Great post, Flagpole guy. Here we have a tribute to those lost at war in Douglas, North Dakota. Another beautiful one. Flagpole guy in the house. We got some great shares. Flagpole guy shares Keene, North Dakota, another sacred tribute to those who gave it all. Rose Hill. Lord is my shepherd. Rose Hill, established 1900. Amazing. Man, look at this one. Beautiful, beautiful. Flagpole guy in the house. Thanks for sharing those. Tony Hay Munkets is here, bringing in 5 new membos. What's up? Black Dragon is here. One Jump Bob, Deborah E. We got Mauri's here, and Fawn Fargo in the house, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets, bringing in 5 new membos. 5 more coming from Tony, SCVM, D. Marie. We got Bruce L., Harlan R., Shrug 65, all in the house, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Thank you, Tony Hay. We got Brian C. What's up? 6 months as a membo. Last trimester. Indeed, indeed. What's up, Brian? Man, we got 3 months, man. You're looking beautiful. Looking beautiful over there. Happy Memorial Day. Entering the last trimester. Good to see you, Brian. Thanks for being a membo, man. We got 3 more months to a baby in the house. Doug M says, need a comfort pet for this upcoming week. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, we should get a little, what could we get to just kind of hang out back here? I don't know. What, a lion? That'd be cool. All right, what's up, Doug? Hey, Glocky says, hey, Rob, I couldn't get through to the website you posted on Friday. Golly, which website did I post, Glocky? Now I'm confused. Any idea which one it was? Felix, what's up? What are the elements of the crime? Well, whatever you want them to be. Whatever. Pick one. I still don't get it. So the judge is giving Trump appealable ammo. Yes, definitely. I think, yeah, this case will definitely be appealable, probably reversed on appeal, but it's not about that. It's about just this election. Appeal will take place way after the election is over, and there'll be no repercussions for this judge. So what does he care? The elements are whatever you want. So, I mean, like literally you could, they're not whatever you want, but they're pretty broad. We just read through them. You could say Michael Cohen formed a bank account in furtherance of a false business record, which he claimed he did. And that is New York law violation, which is a predicate offense. And the business records were, it's crazy. We still don't know. Jesus Freak, what's up? Interesting is contingency plans to deal with Secret Service. Yeah, that is curious. If it's going to be so peaceful and no one needs to shoot each other, why do they need contingency plans to deal with the Secret Service? Hey, Storage Unit Treasures. That sounds like a fun one. What's up, Storage Unit Treasures? That sounds fun. Hey, a nice super chat and the first super on our live stream. Thanks for that, Storage Unit. Very nice to have you here today. It's a beautiful Monday. What's up? Felix is here. says Judge Mercan instructs the jury, throw it all on the wall and see what sticks. Yeah, it's like drawing crimes out of a hat or something. Or they just like throw darts at it. That's one. What'd you get? Whatever you hit is good enough for us. Douglas D., the swamp is deep and Trump is the bait. Well, he's certainly drawing them out. We've never seen such a huge portion of our country giddy and gleeful that our justice system is being wrecked every day. He's an authoritarian. Oh, what are you going to do about that if you're so scared of Trump because he's an authoritarian? We're going to wreck our justice system. Oh, wow. That sounds smart. Hey, Tony, hey, Muckets, bringing in Terry B, Samantha R. We got Jax coming in, Karen V, Howie B, all courtesy of Tony Hey Muckets, bringing in 5 new membos. Thank you, Tony Hey. Hey, Cher Coates. What's up, Cher Coates? Says Trump won't play or talk the DC talk. Exposes their corruption. They will not stop going after him unless all the Dems are voted out of office. Yeah, I hope Trump gets that message, Cher Coates. I hope he hears that. They will not stop going after him. I think certainly the FBI and the DOJ need a very, very good house cleaning, and I hope Trump gets that message. Thanks, Cher, for amplifying that one. Glocky says, this literally sums up DC and how people who are responsible for writing or enforcing laws don't know crap. Here's a question for ATF guy. Could you define an assault weapon? Oh, no, I'm not a firearms expert. No, of course not. What are you, a bureaucrat? This one from Glocky says Trump literally gave the Libertarian Party a huge spotlight for them to share their ideas and vision. Instead, they ended up looking like clowns. They nominated an ex-Obama official who believes in open borders and problematic things with kids. Quarter native on locals. The Libertarians, man. Come on. I want to know why neither side has brought the accountant in that actually put the words legal expenses in the ledger. I think we did get him. Didn't we? Why not have testimony from the person who actually did it? I think it was the QuickBooks guy. Trump asked them. No, Trump did not ask them or directed them. I thought his testimony was, nope, I just do it. He told us it was just a system that they used. They obviously know Trump didn't do it and didn't know about it. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. But Trump was directing it, and it was a benefit to Trump. So therefore, he's responsible. We did have some testimony on that. It was short testimony from the QuickBooks guy, basically. Voice of the people. What's up? Bringing in 10 new membos. We got Gitmo Holidays here. Sounds like a fun time. Big Don. What's up? Juarez Playa. We got Mike B, Tony Z, Unknown Artist, Brian C, Donna F, Matthew H, and Newbie in the house, courtesy of Voice of the People. Bringing in 10 new membos. Thank you, Voice, for doing that. And it's a beautiful Monday to you, my friend. Flagpole guy is sharing this one from Drake, North Dakota. That is a beautiful scene there, man. Beautiful morning and some honorable memories afoot there. What's up, Douglas D? We've got a new supporter. Douglas D's in the house. Barb S. Goal! What's up, Barb? Thank you for that one. Very nice of you this morning. It is a goal, and I appreciate you sending that in. Thanks for being here. Hey, Jesus Freak says planted evidence was the cover sheets they brought. Well, we also had the documents were mixed up in the box, so they were shuffled around, and we have no one-to-one corroboration of the placeholders with the items that they said were in there. So stuff is missing. Why is that? The Troublecast. What's up, the Troublecast in the house? Sounds like a good cast. Sounds like trouble. Just wanted to say hello to the wonderful people of the chat. Thanks for all you do, Rob. Good to see you, the Troublecast. Hopefully you have a nice channel going over there. It looks like you certainly do. Might be something worth checking out, my friends. The Troublecast on the tubes. Felix, federal agency serving a search warrant in Little Rock using U.S. Army Iraqi-styled cordon and search and eliminated him. The raid on Trump was no different. Yeah, I mean, if they say it's just like every other search warrant, it's just like every other search warrant. Oh, like the ones where people end up dead? Yeah, that's what we thought. Hey, what's up? Phil Swede in the house. Membo for 6 months, 2/3 of the way to a baby. And your stomach is growing, Mr. R. MAGA from Sweden. And your stomach is growing, Mr. R. Is that me, Mr. Robert, or something? Am I getting fat? Is what you're saying? Putting on some pounds? I did, kind of indulge this weekend. That's true. All right, I'll work on it. Hey, member, 11 months, Nikki, almost a full year. Woo! Coming up. Too big to rig. I pray so. Yeah, it needs to be. We're not there yet. But the energy, okay, if the trajectory stay the same on this thing, it's not going to be looking good for them. They're going to have to make a change because even if they steal it, no one's going to believe it at all. At all. Glocky sharing this one, something about Schrodinger's cyber gang task force about radicalizing FBI agents. Here are some more FBI agents. Have you seen this photo of them? Good morning. FBI agent says hate speech, because that's of course true. That's one. Another one from Glocky. This one from Piper Lynn. What's up, Piper Lynn? Says happy Memorial Day, Robin, chat, and be safe. Thank you, Piper Lynn. Happy Memorial Day to you. Thanks for being a membo for 4 months. Hopefully you're having a beautiful day today. Felix says, what gets me is how deafeningly silent everyone who knows this was wrong throughout this whole thing is. Yeah, I get really deflated about that too, Felix. It's like, where are all the defense attorneys across America? Where's the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers screaming about what's happening in New York? Nowhere. They fear the psychotics will turn on them. The government can never be a victim. It is too big and powerful. Yeah. Everyone just gets quiet about it. Even many of the Republicans in Congress are just biting their tongue. It's gross. This is a multi-pronged attack on our justice system, and half the country, propagandized by the left, are cheering it on. It's like that scene out of Star Wars where the, what's her name? Princess Mandala, whatever her name is. Is this how democracy dies? To thunderous applause? Or whatever that phrase was. Yeah, exactly. All the Democrats like, yeah, get Trump. Yeah, prosecuting. Do you guys forget about the presumption of innocence, due process, free speech? Remember those concepts? Sheesh. Hey, Glocky says, I sometimes wonder if the FBI agent following me ever dreams of liberty too. Kermit the Frog is having an existential crisis. I don't know. Do the FBI agents even dream? Do they even have dreams? Probably not. Jesus Freak says imminent danger. Same words for gag and for elimination orders. Same words for gag and elimination orders. What's up, newbies here? Says, how is Smith still allowed to continue? Well, until somebody does something about his illegal appointment, until SCOTUS weighs in on that or something happens, he's got free reign. He's been appointed and just keeps moving on. Words Mean Thing says, this is unobtrusive. Shared a link to this YouTube video if you want to search for it. Says aerial images of Trump's Florida home under FBI raid. Yeah, they came in. Any raid it was an unobtrusive raid of your home. Did you hear what you just said? You weren't invited in. You raided it. Good to see you, Words. We got Glocky says, this is actually pretty sickening. Joe and Hunter used a visit to Sandy Hook Memorial Service to set up a secret meet with Chinese over $10 million a year, new emails reveal. That's from the Daily Mail. Yeah, that's, cool, another school shooting. Maybe we can go grift some more money off the Chinese selling out America. Hey, question everything. Says the FBI was so worried about Trump showing up, but tipped off the press on the raid just to add to the shame of it all. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. You're right. That's right. That did happen. Yeah, the media showed up. Oh, Trump's being raided. We all woke up. What on earth is going on right now? That's right. It was a humiliation ritual. They needed to accelerate the timeline. They needed to charge him with something. They wanted to take pictures of Melania, and they did it. Jeffrey A. What's up? Says Dan Goldman, that Congress guy from New York, who basically has accomplished nothing in life other than inheriting a bunch of money from the Levi Strauss family. Dan Goldman is entitled elitist trust fund baby, you nailed it, who prepped Cohen for trial and used Authentic HQ, Lauren Mercon's company. Right. He's just a big rich guy throwing money around, buying That's not even his money. That's his daddy's money. It's pathetic. Glocky, what's up? Says Locals is taking my money but not posting my posts. I'm looking for a lawyer to sue for $1 billion in damages and a 52% stake in holdings of the company. Well, I don't know anyone on that one, but I think it's coming through, Glocky. I think it's coming through. Man, you're going to be rich though one day. What's up? What about me? 14 months as a membo. If it in standard doc, it's silly moral outrage. Sorry. If it's in the standard document, it's silly moral outrage. Sorry. Oh, about executing Trump? You think it's moral outrage that they raided his house? Or I'm morally outraged? Or the outrage is not justified. You just say it's kind of a moral outrage. You're just kind of agitated. I think I see what you're saying. So it's standard. Well, my point is that it's not standard. It's fine if it's a standard document, but this is not a standard case. The president is not like everybody else. And that's the power of being the president. And I'm not making that up. It's the Constitution that says that. So I think it shouldn't be standard is really my point. If it is in the standard document, someone should have thought about it before treating this really America ending type of prosecution. They should have given it some more thought and not just treated it like a common criminal, because that's not true at all. In fact, criminal charges, the reason why criminal charges stick and the reason why people believe how they do about certain criminals is because of the legitimacy behind the societal disfavor of that crime. There's a bunch of people that look at crimes on the books. Every time you've gotten a speeding ticket for going 11 over, do you think that was a justified ticket or a justified law? We all deal with it. But you don't need laws per se to define what is right or wrong. The reason we stand behind certain laws is because they have legitimacy. We don't want people to kill each other. We don't want people to R each other. We don't want people to steal from us. We don't want drug users to be spreading drug filth all over the place. But when you have a situation like this, where there's classified documents that every other person has had, we now have to ask ourselves, is it worth, are you just enforcing laws that are on the books? Because you could do that for everybody. You want to enforce laws that have legitimacy and credibility behind them. They were trying to fake like these classified documents were worthy of a raid because they were national security secrets or whatever, but turns out all that's not true. So it was a fake justification for the raid. It was not a standard case. They tried to make it into a standard case and violated 234 years of precedent and norms. So I don't think it's just moral outrage. I think it's legitimate. What's up? Which is why I spent so much time explaining that. What's up, Stephen M? With armed Secret Service on site, standard operating procedures doesn't apply. Exactly right. Yeah, it's not the same. There are a lot of differences between the two. Glocky says, I'm old enough to remember Ruby Ridge and Waco, all compliments of the FBI. Yeah, other murders that took place. Thanks to the feds for incinerating a bunch of women and kids inside Waco. Nice job. Dustin Frey, what's up? New supporter in the house. Felix says, Judge Cannon, government, what percentage of search warrants results in the death of the person being searched? Yeah. Is it greater than zero? Oh, okay. So there was a risk that could happen at Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, there was. So you knew it. Yeah. So you would have authorized the use of lethal force if something would have happened. Yeah, we would have. Okay. So you had permission to shoot and kill somebody at Mar-a-Lago. Yes, you did. Great. What's up, Felix? Voice of the Peoples here says, remember everyone, 5:30, 3 days from now, Off-Label Podcast will have a jab episode with a special guest comedian. 6-3 committee hearing with Fauci. 6-4, Glenn tells his story. When we get it set up, Rob gets to let loose with us soon. And that sounds like a great time. I can't wait for it. So a lot of events coming up over there, Voice. You are getting it, my friend. I like to see that. Keep creating that content, baby. Churn it and burn it, baby. Get it out there. Got a lot of work to do, Voice. Good to see you. What's up, Felix? Judge Cannon says, how often do agents forget to wear body-worn cameras? And didn't agents forget them during a search raid in Little Rock, Arkansas? Wasn't that not according to government's procedure? From Judge Cannon. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in there. You know, Julie Kelly's doing some great reporting on this. She says that they are melting down, the prosecutors. Judge Cannon's asking very pertinent and astute questions like that, and they're clapping in her face. Da, 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 da. Prosecutors just whining. So good to see you, Felix. Thanks for that. Ron White. Hey, it's a new baby in the house. What's up, Rob White? Membo for 9 months. Hey, I saw that. So Trump's going to be on Timcast IRL to reach people today. That's awesome. So shout out to Tim Pool for sitting down with the president. How cool is that, man? I'm not jealous at all. I'm not mad. But that's cool. That's super cool. So I'm definitely going to be checking that out. And we'll be back on our regular stream schedule tomorrow. So maybe we'll hit some clips from that in our members stream in the morning. That's awesome. And we got a new baby, Rob. Good to have on. We got, what's up? Felix says, the law is in error. It is not constitutional. Amendment 6 is being violated with this case in New York. Nature and cause are being violated. Nature and cause are being violated. Good to see you, Rob. It says, Rob, interview Trump so he reaches the Watching the Watchers audience. All right. You're right. That's a good idea. Let me text him. Hang on a second. Let me see if he's available. Yeah. All right. All right. Just send him a text. So yeah, hopefully he says he's cool with that. What's up, Rob? Hey, Zachary T is here. Says authorization of legal force. Somebody said the quiet part out loud again. They should gag themselves at this point. They're itching for it. They're like, no, we definitely don't want to shoot him and take him out at all. Definitely don't want to. They're like giddy, like schoolgirls. No, we weren't thinking about eliminating him. No, that's ridiculous. No, especially not in the raid. No. This is to restrict the use of force. It goes on every form, I swear. All right, so that's the conversation in the back office there. Michelle P., what's up? If 2 or more people conspiring to promote someone is a crime, wouldn't that make every political office holder guilty of a crime? They all have 2 or more people working to promote themselves. Yeah. And they're all constantly covering up for their misdeeds in their elections. Yes, indict all of Congress for their false business records. You know how many consulting expenses have gone out? It's from the Republicans too. They're constantly manipulating money and campaign expenditures and resources and all the things. Ridiculous. Hey, flagpole guy, what's up? Some more. It says, today is a day we celebrate the heroism of those we lost. Today's politicians, bureaucrats will never know the level of excellence of the common, traditional American. I think that's exactly right. And I think it was Buckley who said that he'd rather be governed by the first 500 people out of the phone book rather than the 500 people in Congress. You'd have a lot more sensible governance and common sense for all of us. Hey, Super Buff is here on Rumble as our new supporter over on the Rumbles. And shout out to our friends on Rumble watching us over there. Great to see you guys. Flagpole guy shared this one, says these communists will feel the strength of praying, working, and a disciplined patriot. It won't come in their time. It will come in God's time. From Flagpole guy. Mark N., what's up? First trimester done. Mark N., 3 months today. Baby on the way. We're looking good, Mark. We're looking real good here. Looking good. Baby's healthy. Do they start kicking at 3 months? I don't know. I don't have a lot of baby experience other than here. We have a lot of babies here. Mark, thanks for being a membo. First couple months are the hardest. It gets easier from there. Queen Bee's Art Hive says, we have the best chat ever. That is 100% factually true. It's been proven. It's been proven in multiple courts of law. Hey, here's one. Here's one from John McGarvey. Hey, John's giving me some grief on my leg day, I guess. We're on the Heavy app now, H-E-V-Y. We're on Heavy. So if you want to come follow us, H-E-V-Y, search my profile. You'll find me up over there. Follow. I'm posting my weightlifting routines. Today, what did we do today? This morning, I already got one in this morning, early there, 6 a.m. gym day today. We had chest and tries. H-E-V-Y, search for me. And then there are other watchers over there. K Bean's over there. John McGarvey's over there. Pensive Joseph is over there. So come check it out. H-E-V-Y. What's up? Gym partner insults be like, I hope you have leg day tomorrow. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. I love that scene so much. That was a funny scene. He just stabs himself in the leg. don't you? And he goes, rest in peace, that guy. He goes from 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds in that scene. Great scene. What's up, JC? Why doesn't the judiciary step up to stop the New York abuses? Well, I think they're kind of happy with what's going on over there. It's par for the course. It's Angeron Areola, the Areola Borealis, aka the Nip. He's there. Tish James, she got elected. Like, the people want this. They voted for her. They voted for Alvin Bragg. This is the governance that exists there. It's like a whole different country. We got a baby in the house. MT Coiner, 9 months. Good to see you, MT Coiner, and congratulations. Going to be a very handsome young one. Going to be a soccer player. Thanks for the continued coverage. Thank you, MT Coiner. 9 months. Glad to have you. And a new baby. Wasabi Now. Wasabi Now says, the Mar-a-Lago raid is in everyone's mind, but the question asked, is there video feeds available inside the home during the raid? So I don't have a good answer on this. It's a great question, and I don't know. I've read conflicting evidence. Last week, in fact, we read from the raid timeline that they turned the cameras on. I thought that they turned the cameras off because there was a request to turn the cameras off. Then we saw a timeline that shows they turned the cameras on. We've also seen evidence that the defense is saying that they've requested the surveillance tapes, but it's been essentially converted into government proprietary formats that then they can't review. And there's a lot of footage there. So it's a good question. I don't have a definitive answer on it. I wish I did. Hopefully we do get an answer to that soon, because it's a great question. It's come up and I don't know definitively. What's up, Mr. Trump Train? Hey, I'm too old to have a baby. No, you're not. You're 2/3 of the way there, Mr. Trump Train. It's coming, baby. So get ready for it. I don't know what you got to do over there to get psyched up for it. Clear out the old bedroom, whatever you got to do. 3 more months. We got another one coming. Good to see you, Mr. Trump Train. Bodie, I think that once the immunity verdict comes out, Trump will release the damning documents that the FBI was after. Wouldn't that be great? He just drops a whole dossier on Crossfire Hurricane corruption. Amazing. My friends, thank you so much for those incredible donos. We got a bunch of new membos coming in. We have some hilarious comments. We got some flagpoles. We got some amazing memories, some awesome stuff today. Thank you for sending all of that in. Let's say what's up to our friends on X before we wrap it up and go hang out with our locals friends. What's up? Sunshine State of Mind is sharing this one. This looks interesting. What is this? Interview of Michael Cohen from 2018. Oh, very interesting. Sunshine State of Mind. Thank you for that. Very interesting document. Hey, Chot Beanie. We got Chandler Feline Fun is in the house. Raven Madness is over there. HK, what's up, Ryan V? TJ King. Yeah, HK Candu says it sounds like a new Disney film, The Porn Star and the Perjurer. Yeah. Let's see if you announce this. No, we're not going to announce that. No. Supersonic Station says, did they list the crime yet? They've charged him with crimes, but they haven't, and they've given us a bunch of jury instructions. So it's like connect the dot, so the jurors can create really whatever offense they want. Hey, those are bad statements. You're going to get in trouble for those statements. You shouldn't say those things. Feline Fun. The jury instructions might be overly broad, but each juror has to justify their position in that jury room. I really want to believe the jury will be able to see through the charade. Also, I thought Jack Smith was appointed after the raid. He didn't request it, did he? Hey, what's up? Chot says, does the FBI have a lot of precedent raiding the homes of people with U.S. Secret Service details, which contributed to the development of their standard procedures regarding the use of lethal force? Chandler B. Yeah, another question about the cameras. I don't know the ultimate. We just read a timeline that says they turned them on before the raid. So I have some questions about that. I don't know if they were on or not. The last document we read seems like they were on. So that's that. My friends, great comments over on X. Thank you for sending those in. We, of course, are now going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com, our members-only community we're going to go hang. We're going to debrief on the day, and then we'll be done here for the day. Won't be back this afternoon because we're going to be enjoying the day off. I hope you are doing the same. And of course, remembering why we are here. Shout out to, look at these just incredible gentlemen. Look at these gentlemen. Gosh, such amazing dudes, and a woman, I think, right there. So shout out to our friends. Shout out to our friends. And I think that's a female. If not, apologies for the misgender. But gentlemen and ladies, we salute you. Amazing. All right. So we're going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com, and we are going to leave it there. If you want to grab any of the PDFs that we went through, you can get those at robertgovea.com. They are up or will be up there very shortly. Watcherlodge.com is our sovereignty and self-development community, which is where you can check out more information about our Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas meetup happening on June 29th. And if you're serious about coming to Vegas, come and join us. We'd love to have you. More information on that at watcherlodge.com. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. It's a beautiful Monday. I want to thank you for joining us a little bit earlier on the day. We're going to be back on regular schedule tomorrow and the rest of the week. We've got closing arguments tomorrow. Oh my gosh, it's going to be crazy. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking our video here. Thank you for inviting someone you know or love to come over here and check out our channel, because we got a lot of litigation and a lot of election business to attend to. And in order to get into it, we need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. An amazing Memorial Day. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.